بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Last time we talked about the categories where the beneficiaries of zakat, the 8 categories, are considered. Denying zakat. So denying zakat and withholding zakat are two different things. Any person that denies something that is known to be part of Islam, the fuqaha and the scholars call it ma'lumun min ad-din bil-darura, which means that it is known out of default that it is part of Islam. Anyone who denies this is an apostate, is a disbeliever. So a person who prays, fasts, gives zakat, performs hajj, but says, I do not believe in the day of judgment. I do not believe in the existence of heaven and hell. A person, the punishment that are mentioned in the Quran. So he says, no, I don't believe in chopping off the hand of a thief after fulfilling the conditions, or in flogging a person who slanders an innocent person without providing proof. I don't believe in the prescribed. I do not believe in a religion that endorses such harsh and barbaric punishments. Such a person is automatically a kafir for denying something that is well known from the religion. And there is an issue between someone who is ignorant and someone who's arrogant. And there is a difference between ignorance in the land of Islam and ignorance outside the land of Islam. So a person comes to me and he says, listen, for the past 10 years, I reverted to Islam, but I never took a ghusl because I never thought that it was mandatory upon me to take ghusl. I said, subhanallah, this is something that every Muslim knows, but because you were living in America and you did not know, and probably you didn't have the means and tools to learn, we would say that this is out of ignorance. Rather than someone coming and saying, no, I'm not going to pray. Why? Said, I don't want to bend over and put my head on the ground which I step on. This is ridiculous. This is a kafir. Because what he's doing is definitely something that shows he does not have the submission to Allah Azza wa Jal to begin with. And therefore, this person is in great danger. Now, having said that, if a person denies one part of Islam, then he becomes a kafir. Because Islam was built and based on these 5 pillars and the 6 articles of Iman. Denying one of them makes a person an apostate, not part of Islam anymore, maybe part of another religion, but not definitely part of Islam. This is why they exit Islam. Those who say that we only fast 19 days and we face Palestine instead of Kaaba, those are disbelievers. They're denying things that are known by default to be part of Islam. So anyone who says that, no, I'm not going to pay zakat because it's not mandatory, this is like taxation, this is like jizya, he's a kafir. Of course, after fulfilling the conditions and removing the obstacles. But generally speaking, that would be very easy with such a person. But if a person is greedy and he loves money, and who doesn't? Yet his love to money is more than his love to Islam. And he says, yeah, I know that it is mandatory, but I'm not going to pay zakat because with the zakat I have, I can buy a new car. And he's got millions. And subhanallah, and this is something I've noticed, the poorer a person is, the quicker he is in giving zakat. And the richer a person is, the slower in giving zakat. Not only that, he would try to calculate ways out of it, which shows that the purification of the heart is not fulfilled with such a person, because zakat is means of increasing growth and purification, as we've defined this earlier on. So is he a kafir? The answer is no. He is a sinner and he's committing one of the major sins in Islam. Why didn't you make him a kafir if he is not fulfilling one of the pillars of Islam? Because the Prophet said at the end, and that person will then take his way either to heaven or to hell. After all that punishment in the grave, he will then be either directed to heaven or to hell. A kafir can never be directed to heaven. He will stay in hell for eternity, which means that the person who does not deny zakat, but rather he withhold it, in this case, he's a Muslim, but he's a sinner and have committed a major sin and would be punished according to hell for eternity. We move on to properties liable to zakat, and this is extremely important. And why is that? So many times as muftis, as people who answer others' questions, I get so many questions about the things that nullify wudu, about the things that break fasting, about the things that we have to give zakat over. And I keep telling myself, these people, if they just spent an negligible amount of their time every day to study Islam, wallahi, they could have answered themselves and not need to Tom, Dick, or Harry to answer them. People come to me and said, Sheikh, I went to the masjid with a pack of cigarettes in my pocket. So is my prayer valid? So I said to myself, okay, why wouldn't it be valid? He said, yeah, because smoking is haram. Okay, but what does that have to do with your prayer? You're clean shaven, and as a man, shaving your beard is haram. So does that affect your salat? No, it doesn't. So this is something that makes it easy for you to make decisions. People say, okay, I smoked a cigarette. Do I have to make wudu? You know that the things that nullify wudu are a handful. So why are you asking me this question? We told you that things that nullify wudu are 5. So if you bring a 6th and it's not included, by default you should answer yourself, akhi, why are you making things difficult for you? Oh, Sheikh, I brushed my teeth while I was fasting. Does it nullify my fasting? Does it break my fasting? Why would it break? People come and say, Sheikh, I have an expensive car, and do I have to give zakat every year on that? I have an expensive watch. I bought a plot long time ago, and now people are telling me you have to pay zakat for that. Well, you have to learn the properties that are liable for zakat, the wealth that are zakatable, and then you can understand and clearly answer yourself without coming to me and asking me questions. And this is what we try to tell people. Expand your knowledge and develop your process or the way of thinking. I get so many not intelligent questions, but I would say that if the person asking these questions gave it some thought, he would not have asked them. But the problem is, it is so easy to send questions rather than to think. And this is what we are trying to change the people from doing. Yes, you can ask the Sheikh 100 that this is the best thing to do. When you ask so many questions where you could have spent a little time trying to contemplate, trying to understand by yourself, that would have been much easier. And this is why I always tell those who call me, what would you like? Do you want to fish, or do you want to learn how to fish? If you want to fish, you keep on calling every single day. You keep on writing your questions on Twitter or to my website. But this makes you dependent. And this is not positive. This is not healthy. But if I teach you how to fish, and then you go and try it for yourself, maybe you'll succeed 7 times out of 10. The other 3, you can come and ask to be clarified. And that is way, way better than coming 10 times to be, for many people, not intelligent. So what are the categories that are properties, or what are the wealth that are liable for zakat? Scholars make them into 4, and some make them into 5. The most famous are 4, because the 5th is quite rare. So finding it is not that essential in our lives. So we will mention it either way. The first category, as per the book, is the livestock. So cattle, that includes camels, cows, sheep, goats. These are known as livestock or cattle. And if you want to sacrifice, you cannot bring a horse and sacrifice it for Hajj. It has to be one of these categories mentioned earlier. And likewise for aqiqah, you can't bring 100 chicken and slaughter them and say, this is my aqiqah. It has to be from the livestock. So this livestock has conditions. First of all, it has to reach the threshold known as nisab. And each one's nisab is different than the other. If I have 3 camels, no zakat. 4, no zakat. If I have 5 camels, in this case, I have to give 1 sheep for every 5 camels that I have. And if I have 9 camels, still I have to give 1 sheep. If I have 10 camels, then it goes up an extra sheep, so I have to pay 2. Likewise, if I have 14 camels, I have to pay only 2 sheep. If I have 15 camels, I have to pay 3, and so on. So there is a table stating that for every number of camels, I have to pay so and so. Until it reaches 25, then it goes into camels as zakat instead of sheep. And it has different ages for every number of camels that I have. As for cows, the minimum, the threshold is 30 cows. And for every 30, or once I reach the number of 30 cows, I have to give a cow which is known as tabir. And tabir is a 1-year-old going into his second, and it's called tabir because it follows it, which is thani, which is 2 years of age. And if I have sheep, if I have 39 sheep that I'm herding, there's no zakat in that. Once it reaches 40, then I have to pay one sheep for that, and it goes on up to 120 sheep. Then I go on to the second level, etc. It's a bit complicated, but this is what the Prophet taught us, alayhi salatu wasalam, in terms of giving zakat. And zakat, by the way, is not given on any livestock that you keep. So like if I have 100 sheep in my barn or on my ranch, is there any zakat on that? Yeah, Sheikh, you said every 40 you have to give one sheep. No, 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 no. There is a condition that we have to give zakat. Is it the passing of one lunar year, Sheikh? The answer is no. Okay, Sheikh, I give up. What is it? The sheep, the cows, the camels have to be grazing and not fed. Explain, please. I'll explain. If I have 100 sheep on my farm and they are take them and graze in the open land from what Allah Azza wa Jal has grown up from the grass, etc. Rather, I buy them food and I bring them water. So they feed from the food, from the grass, from the hay that I bring them every single day. In this case, there is no zakat on it. Because the Prophet made a condition that is grown on open land. So if it's not grazing, if I am buying trucks of food for it, there's no zakat in it unless it changes into a category that is known as urud al-tijara. If I'm trading with it, I'm keeping it, I'm taking care of it so that I can sell it in the season of Hajj and make money out of that, then there is zakat in it, even if it does not reach the threshold. Because now it turned into urud al-tijara. So I hope this clarifies the first category of wealth that requires attention when giving zakat. Of course, not all of us are ranch owners. Not all of us have cattle. Maybe some of us have not even seen a cow or a camel in their lives. But it is that we only know about the area we live in, this room I'm in, the neighborhood where I live, my city, as if this is the whole world. And this is not true. There will come a time when everything is back to the future, everything is dependent on livestock, on farming. There won't be any oil, there won't be any plastics, no fossil fuel, no electricity. All these things we've been enjoying for the past 2 centuries maybe. But before that and after that, things will go back to its nature. So, or property, but it would be measured by livestock. And this is why it is important to study it, to understand it, because inevitably it's going to come back one day. The second category of zakatable wealth is gold and silver and what takes their role, such as banknotes or currencies. So the verses in the Quran, as in gold and silver, and how it would become a means of torment to those who hoard it, it's clear. The ahadith, it also is clear. And you can go through this section and read the ayat and read the hadith in it, that this is referring to the issue of gold and silver and whatever counts as them. Now, why is so much emphasis placed on gold and silver? Simply because these two precious metals, since the beginning of time, have been the means of trading between nations, countries, different ethnicities. They all accept gold and silver. Nowadays, we tend to neglect or underestimate the role of gold and silver because we have dollars, we have euros, we have currencies, not knowing that countries' economy depends on their currency to increase their wealth, not knowing that they are causing a big problem for the whole of the world, until we reach a limit where these paper notes have no value. Long ago, like 50 years ago, you would find written on a banknote that this banknote is holding the value of so much in silver or in gold, and if you were to the monetary fund or the central bank, they will give you in exchange for it metal, which is silver or gold. Nowadays, this is not applicable. Countries don't have enough reserve in gold or silver to back up their currencies. They depend on their economy, on what they sell and what they buy and what they claim. And the economy of the world is in the hands of a number of Jews who control the interest rate and the value of currencies. But this is not a topic. So gold and silver is extremely important. It will remain until the end of time. Do not trust Bitcoin or these digital currencies because it's a scam. What comes quick goes quick. And gold and silver remains the most. It may get a little bit sick every now and then, but it never dies, unlike other types of investments. So Allah Azza wa Jal mandated that we give zakat whenever we have gold, silver, or whatever carries their role. So what is the threshold of gold? Scholars say of 24 karat gold. So if I have in my possession 84 grams of 24 karat gold, I do not have to pay zakat. If I have 85, I have to give 2.5% of that after one lunar year is completed. Okay, what about if I have 100? Should I give 2.5% of the whole 100 or only for what exceeds the 85, which is the 15 grams? No, you have to give the whole 2.5%. It's a lot of money, yes, but the one who gave you the kilogram of gold also is so generous with you and did not say that this is a lot of money. What about if it's less than 24 carats of gold? If you have 85 grams, but it is 20 carats of gold, there's no zakat. Because the difference between 20 and 24, these four is made of copper or other metals. So the 20 karat gold is not 100% pure. It has impurities mixed with it. And this is why you have to do the calculation by multiplying the amount you have by 20 and dividing it by 24, and then you will have the actual. What about if I have silver? Okay, the threshold of silver is 595 grams of silver. The same concept apply. Less than 595, there's no zakat. Whatever goes above, there is zakat, providing that it completed a whole lunar year in your possession. And the currencies are considered to be or weighed or compared to silver, not gold. Why? See, 85 grams of gold is like maybe 20,000 riyals. The difference is 10 times. If we were to tell people the money you save in the bank or under your mattress, if it completes 1 year and it reaches 20,000 riyals, you give zakat. If you do your analysis, you'll find that only maybe 10% of the population would be able to give zakat. But if you say that if the amount you are saving is 2,000 riyals and above, measuring it by silver, not gold, you'll find that 90% of the population will give zakat. So which of the two options is better and more in favor of the poor and the needy? Definitely the latter. And this is why the scholars like Sheikh bin Baz, Ibn Uthaymeen, and the muftis in Saudi Arabia all say that you calculate the value and the threshold of your wealth, money-wise, by silver and not by gold, so that it is in the favor of the poor. Number 3, commercial goods. What is meant by commercial goods? In Arabic, it's called urud al-tijara. And urud al-tijara, the vast majority of scholars trade in. You have to give zakat. Excuse me, can you please define what you meant by trade in? Meaning that I am specifying this product with this money to keep on buying and selling, buying and selling, buying and selling, in order that everything in the grocery shop is zakatable. Because yes, I do sell tomato ketchup, I do sell soups, I do sell cans of milk and mushrooms, etc. But I buy and I refill their places and put things on the shelves for shoppers to come and buy. So this is an ongoing process where people sell and buy, sell and buy, sell and buy. And this is zakatable. And this is the majority of scholars. And they say that the verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 267, where Allah says, "O who you believe, spend on others out of the good things you have earned," that this refers to the commercial goods, the things you sell and buy. Now, we have that not everything you sell is zakatable. So if I buy a plot, which many of the Muslims do and ask about them, "Sheikh, I bought a plot, I bought 2 plots." And I say, "Why did you buy them?" He says, "I don't know, for the future. So maybe like 10, 15 years from now, I may sell them." and pay for my children's weddings, or I may build a house to live in, or I may use it to build an apartment, high riser, and rent it. So do I have to pay zakat every year? The answer is no. Sheikh, the guy is storing, because we have 4 categories. Is it livestock? No. Is it gold and silver? No. It's a property, it's a piece of land. Is it grains and fruit grown from the ground? No. Is it commercial goods that are sold and bought? Well, no, don't well me. Is he buying and selling? Is he a real estate agent or a company that this is their life? Yes, if I had a company and I had €1,000,000, and all what I do is buy properties, keep them for a couple of months, sell them, buy other properties, this is my work and I make money out of that. In that case, there is zakat. Likewise, if someone comes to me and says, okay, the thing on your head, I like this. Is it for sale? I said, no, it's not for sale. I don't go out and sell the things I wear on my head. He said, okay, what about if I give you $1,000? Be my guest. Now, should I give zakat for that? No. It's a one-timer. Someone gives me a good price for my car, I'm gonna sell it. But I don't drive around saying, God. So this is a very critical way of understanding what you have to give zakat for and what you do not have to give zakat for. The 4th category is grains and fruits. And it has to be understood that we would say that almost all types of fruit are not zakatable. Watermelon, oranges, apples, peaches, all of these are not zakatable. Also, vegetables are not zakatable. Cucumbers, tomatoes, green leaves of all types are not zakatable. So if I have a farm and I'm growing lettuce, there's no zakat on that. But if I sell the lettuce or the vegetables or the fruit, it becomes part of the 3rd category, which is commercial goods. So I have to give zakat. But for grain, for example, wheat, barley, corn, all of these are zakatable. However, there are conditions for such zakat, and that is, it reaches the threshold. And what is the threshold? The threshold is measured in size, not in weight. So the Prophet said 5 awsuq, and al-wasaq is measured by 60 sa', which makes it 300 sa'. What is a sa', Sheikh? A sa' is a container like that we put things in it and we fill it up, and this is 1 sa'. And each sa' is composed of 4 mud, and each mud is what gathers in a normal person's hands. So if I have rice and I do this and I fill it up, this is 1 mud, and I put it in a container, and if I take 4 scoops, this becomes 1 sa'. So 300 sa' of grain or above, it's due on dates, it's due on raisins, coming of course from grapes. That's it. Don't go to other fruits or vegetables. And scholars said that the common denominator between these categories is that you can store them and you measure them by weight, by size. So grains are measured by liter or by sa'. Raisin is likewise, dates likewise, and you can store them so the poor does not have to eat them fresh. He can keep them for a month, 6 months, a year, whatever, and feed on that until the next time zakat. Unlike a lunar year is not necessary for zakat to be due. So if it is harvesting time, you have to give zakat. So if you harvest twice a year, you give zakat twice a year. And the amount of zakat is also different than all the others. So it's not 2.5. It's either 5% or 10%. 5% is given when there is hardship in taking care of your land, meaning that you have to bring water from far away and you have to spend money to irrigate rather than having a stream running by or anything, and it rains all the time and the streams are close by. There's not a lot of hard work or money spent. Then you give 10% out of the crops when you harvest it. And it's an issue of dispute whether we have to give zakat on only raisins or also on grapes that are fresh, on dates that are dry, or also on ripe dates when they're yellow or red and fresh. And the most authentic opinion is that you do have to give zakat on that as well. And the fifth category, which I stated before, that it is not of great importance due to the rare occasions that you'll have one, is the mineral resources and rikaz. Rikaz was explained to you last lesson, and I said that it is the treasure of pre-Islamic era. And I will not repeat what I said. You can go and check it out, inshallah. The zakat is 20%, which is approximately 1/5 of whatever you find. No need for finishing a lunar year. The moment you find it, you have to give it out. As for mineral resources, this is an issue of dispute, and I think I've discussed it here or somewhere else, and said that the Hanafi school of thought say that if it's hard, then it's zakatable, and if it's soft, like tar and oil, then there is no zakat on it. That said that you do not have to give zakat on mineral resources unless it is gold or silver. And this is the choice of Sheikh Assim ibn Taymiyyah and Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen and others, and this is the most authentic opinion, that mineral resources other than gold and silver that are found and extracted from earth, they do not require zakat from those who find it, unless, of course, if this was for commercial use, which is in most cases. So once you extract it, what are you going to do with it? Sell it. in this case, yes, you have to give 2.5% on that, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. So I think we will stop right here at social effects of zakat. And we move on. From last time, I have like 5 questions, and I think that the admins had sent me more questions in the email, so I'll go through them and then check the emails, inshallah. Yasmin Khan says, we are 2 sisters with 1 elder brother. Parents want to distribute the property as per Sharia. My parents wish to sell all the property and distribute the cash, but my brother wants a piece of the land, that is a farm, and not the cash. Parents don't want to change their mind. Are my parents right if they don't give that piece of land but sell and give cash instead? I am shocked by the audacity of, not necessarily your question, whose property is it? It's your parents. Does anyone have any control over what they decide to do with their own cash or own property? Of course not. So if they decide to sell everything they have and give it to Huda TV or build an institution for da'wah, a school, a masjid, or buy a big building and make it an endowment, waqf, whatever comes every year from the rent is given to Islamic conferences worldwide. Can any one of you daughters or your brother object to that? Of course not. This is my hard-earned money. You have no right in it. After I die, if I leave something, you may inherit it. But while I'm alive, you insist on inheriting me? A'udhu billah. What kind of children are these? So the answer is, your brother has no right in objecting. On the contrary, he should be grateful that his parents are giving him something now rather than wait until they die, and Allah knows when that would be. Why does he insist on having the property? Because he knows that he'll get it off them cheap. So if they sell it, they're gonna sell it for X amount of money and then distribute the money. But if they give it away, they will not give it away as if it is 100,000. They would give it away as if it is 80,000 or 70,000 worth, and he makes more. He should, it's up to you. But you cannot object to them when they're doing something out of their own goodwill as if this is your God-given right. Fatima says, if one fainted out of tiredness of fasting, would her fast go void, or should she continue fasting? There's no reason for her to cut her fasting. It's like falling asleep. Does that impact your fasting? The answer is no. So if a person faints before the adhan of Fajr and wakes up only after Isha, in this case, we would say that, yeah, this person did not fast because this was not voluntary and he lost consciousness and he could not attain 1 second of fasting. Unlike someone who was asleep. In this case, a person who's asleep can't per se. So to answer your question, Fatim, there is no problem in fainting while fasting and waking up and continuing the fast. Fida Wasik says charity is for fuqara, the poor, who's in Allah's cause, are restricted from travel, trade, or work. The one who knows them not thinks that they are rich because of their modesty. You may know them by their mark. They do not beg of people at all, and whatever you spend in good, surely Allah will know. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 273. The question of Fida, who are these people and what is their mark? These people, they don't have any wealth. They are unable to travel to trade. They don't have any capital to go to the market. Yet, they're so modest. They are so rich inside. You can barely recognize that they are poor. But you should know them from their mark, from their characteristics. تعرفهم بسيماهم. So what is their characteristics? You can see signs of poverty on their clothes. So yes, they're wearing clean clothes, but it's torn. It's like 4 years old. The fabric is worn out, but they don't have any other alternative. So such is a mark, a characteristic that you can tell. If you look at their feet, you can tell. If you look at where they live, you can tell. These are all marks. Unlike whenever they meet others, they start to whine and complain of the debts they have, the economy, there's not enough money, I can barely pay the rent, my children need this, and they keep on complaining. These are totally opposite to whom Allah is describing to us, who are so modest, so proud, because they believe in Allah and they would never humiliate themselves and beg others. Such people are the ones that you should look for, that you should try to investigate until you find them, and then in an honorable way, a dignified way, you help them. You give them money without them feeling broken or humiliated, because whatever you put there, bal says, how should a woman cover her face while she's in the state of Ihram in order for the veil not to touch her face? This is prevailing in the subcontinent, unfortunately. And some schools of thought may have mentioned this before when they said that in some places in Ihram, a woman should wear a structure where when she puts the hijab on, she won't be touched by the hijab. So you find women walking in Hajj or Umrah with a structure in front of their faces this big. So something like this. She wears a structure and she puts the veil on top of it. And they say that what's prohibited is for the veil to touch the face. And this is totally baseless. This is uncalled for. Never in the Quran or the Sunnah anything of such is mentioned. The only thing in the Sunnah is that the Prophet said, عليه السلام, لا تنتقب المحرمة ولا تلبس القفازين. The one wear the niqab and she must not wear the gloves. That's it. Where did you get the idea that touching the face is prohibited? I have no idea. It's totally baseless. So, having said that, a person should know that wearing such a structure is an innovation. If a woman were to cover her face, she simply wears her normal face cover, that is 1 or 2 layers, so that she can see through it, because she's not gonna wear the niqab that has an opening for the eyes. She has to cover the whole face. And the sky is the limit. And finally, the last question from Rayyan. She says, when we give fidya, do we need to inform the receiver that it is fidya? And the answer is, the recipient of the fidya is poor, but that does not mean that he has no dignity. So when you come to the poor people and you say, this is zakat money, this is charity, this is fidya, by the way, I broke a promise to Allah, this is kafara, expiation, that would break their heart. So you should not tell them what this is, that this recipient of zakat does not accept zakat. If anyone were to tell him that this is zakat money, he says, no, I don't take zakat, I could not give him something that he does not want to have. But 99.9% of all poor people that I know would have no problem in getting zakat money, yet it would not be appropriate to tell people that this is zakat money, or this is fidya, or this is an expiation, because that would break their heart and break them a bit. So I believe that we should stop here, and the questions of last, or the questions that came now, we will postpone them to next Monday, inshallah. So until we meet then, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.